think you should keep in mind that physics does not guarantee the truth, but only the most reasonable explanation for the observations we make. The hard
Greetings. I am Dr. Apollo Stoppelbein, and I am going to tell you a bit about the physics of reality as it pertains to the Vogel crystal, the arc Vogel crystal, and more specifically to GEMs. And that brings me to the first point, is that we live in a GEM matrix. I call it a GEM matrix as in geometric energy matrix. It is crystallographic. Our universe is made upon patterns and patterns and patterns on top of patterns on top of patterns of crystallographies, of patterns that intersect and form everything. And it is the nature of nature that these patterns exist. That is the truest nature of reality. When one says that everything is energy, well, what is energy? Energy is a potential, and it is a pattern in motion. That is about the best that energy can be described. So when we talk about the matrix of energy, we're talking about a geometric system. From the inception of the universe, whether Big Bang or manifestation, we're talking about patterns. We're talking about energetic patterns in motion that have the potential of formation, essentially because they have the potential and the reality of information. Energy is always information, saith Einstein. And the reason that energy is always information, because energy is pattern in motion. Pattern in motion is always transmitted in patterns, through patterns, by patterns, because of patterns, with patterns, in pattern. So our universe is patterns and patterns and patterns of energy, which is information that is based on these patterns. Now, scientists, physicists, quantum physicists, they're dealing with these patterns. They're mathematical. That's the nature of reality as far as a physicist, a scientist, a quantum physicist is concerned. It is mathematical. I say that math is only a means to describe a geometry. So the fact that it's mathematical shows us that it is geometrical. And if it's geometrical, then it is harmonic in such a way that denotes a so-called creator, a mind, an architect behind these patterns. People argue whether or not we're in a realm of chaos, a realm of randomness, but the reality is that those are just bad theories. We can theorize anything we want, and we can put some numbers behind it and have some numbers that don't work, and some numbers that don't add up, and say that's reality. We can attempt to make up any conception we want and make some scientific analysis to it and put some numbers behind it, but that doesn't mean that that is the causation or the nature of reality. The causation of the nature of reality, the causation and the nature of reality cannot be random. Everything is pattern in motion. Everything is constructed. Everything has a design, a designer. Everything that has a design must have a designer. That is the nature of a design. That is the nature of intelligence, that it stems from somewhere. And all we see is information. All we see is intelligent information. All we see, therefore, is intelligence. We see the intelligence of the cosmos when we look at the structures of molecules, when we look at atoms aligned in arrangements called things, called matter. And all matter is stemming from a crystallographic source. This source, like I said, be it the Big Bang or be it a unified manifestation from all points in the universe, whatever formulation you would like to adhere to or to follow, whatever that is, there is a defined intelligence. And it is defined in a way that we're seeing the same patterns repeated, the same plutonic solids, the same crystallographic patterns, the same base patterns repeated. And what makes people think that it's chaos is that they don't understand the evolution of these patterns, that things stem from a crystallographic source, yet they don't remain crystallographic. Say, for example, if you melt some quartz, it goes from a highly crystallographic system, a perfect crystallographic system of hexagonal atomic structure, into what science would call random or amorphous or even chaotic structure. The fact is that there's no such thing as a random or chaotic structure. There's no such thing. There can't be. There's no such thing as random. There's no such thing as chaos. Those are bad theory. The nature of what's happened is that it's undergone a change, definitely. And it's gone from being a defined crystallographic structure from quartz into being glass, which has no defined crystallographic structure, no defined pattern within its atomic structure. Now, again, I say that God knows the pattern to everything. God knows what pattern all glass is. Every piece of glass could be different. Every glass could be different. Every piece of glass on the planet could have a different structure to it, but that doesn't mean that it's random. In fact, it cannot be random because you have certain types of glass. So those certain types of glass have a certain type of structure that makes that certain type of glass. And whether science can determine or see that there are patterns to every piece of material on the planet, everything on the planet, everything in the cosmos, then science isn't seeing with the eyes of nature, the eyes of God, because everything has pattern. Now, whether or not, again, we can see it or not, whether or not we can ascribe a mathematical formulation to it or not, doesn't matter. It's still a pattern. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. Everything has a pattern. That's why it's a thing. Every different thing has a different pattern. That's why they're different things. The way that their atoms are aligning, the way that their atoms are patterned as little balls of energy, patterns that are so far away from each other that essentially all matter is 99% empty space. So this is a static electric field that is holding these atoms together, and these forces, this energy, is what actually is compiling the things, is the reason that we don't just pass through all of this empty space with our bodies that are 99% empty, passing through the floor that is 99% empty, or the chair that is 99% empty. You know, there is a static electric field, strong and weak nuclear forces, things like that, that are holding these atoms together and holding things apart in these electric ways. It's all energy and it's all information. And like I said, the information is the formation of the chair. It exists because it's in a formation, an atomic formation. The materials, the plastic, the wood, the leather, all in their various atomic lattice formations, holding a structure of energy that is the nature of reality, in the sense that everything is a structure of energy. Everything. And even energy is a structure of energy. Patterns on top of patterns in multi-dimensional ways. Not just two-dimensional squiggly lines on a screen telling you what a frequency is. A wave is spiraling geometry, spiraling geometric wave patterns. And there's never just one wave. There's always combinations of waves. And these combinations of waves spiral and vortex and torsion and cause patterns, cause geometric energy matrix patterns, GEM patterns, or less than GEM patterns. And again, we get into the nature of random, chaos, crystallographic. We get into the nature of what everything is doing when it's not in a crystallographic form. like I said, glass. Diamonds are forever, quartz is forever, gems are forever. So glass deteriorates much faster than a piece of quartz because it's not in its crystallographic formation. Well, anything that isn't in a crystallographic formation recycles very quickly relative to crystals. Crystals, again, diamonds are forever, gems are as well. So we have this evolving nature that we can't always see into scientifically, that when a piece of wood becomes the dirt again, these are patterns changing, and we can't always see the patterns changing, as the piece of glass will become a piece of sand again, a piece of dirt. It's on its way there a lot quicker because it was melted and reformed into glass, because the quartz was melted and reformed into glass. So as things so-called age or change or evolve, they take on different patterns. And that's the nature of the stars being exploded and or dying and making our G.E.M Earth. So this was a pattern of fire. This was a pattern of geometry. This was a pattern of energy that then compressed or exploded and became the planets. And these planets are minerals, gems and minerals. And they have their own processes to where they're birthing more gems and minerals. So this is the observed pattern of the cosmos, that we have these compressions of energy called stars, and that these stars do things and explode or burn out or collide or, many different things to where they end up becoming planets. And these planets become gems. These planets are gems. And again, patterns seen all over the universe, the known universe, what we can observe, and especially here on Earth. Now, these patterns, these waves, they have an intelligence behind them. The stars are intelligent. The stars are formed and informed in a way that it's obviously the mechanism of reality. The time clock of reality, the structure of energy that everything exists by, is coming from these huge energy masses called stars. And these wave patterns are woven throughout the network of the matrix called the universe. Now, we also have the physics of the other side, the dark matter, the so-called antimatter, the so-called ethers, the so-called quantum field, the so-called zero-point energy. We have this other side that's also informing every atom, that is truly informing every atom and every wave and propagating every wave. And this is an information field. The source field, this other side, is truly the informative information of the universe. And it's all we see. It's all we see is patterns, 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 these same patterns morphing and evolving in ways that we can't quite scientifically put a number on. Because again, numbers are just to describe a geometry. Every measurement, every number is a measurement. That's what it's there for. That's what the numbers are there for. And every number is measuring some geometry. Whether if it's counting pennies, you're counting this geometric thing called a penny. Or whether it's designing a building, or whether if it's trying to figure out the structure of the universe. You're dealing with numbers that are only there because they're measuring something, because they're measuring a geometry, because they're relating a relatable principle of the geometric pattern or a geometric pattern, because they're relating the nature of a geometric pattern. And so everything is geometry, everything is patterns. All math is a measurement of patterns. All chemistry is just trying to determine the nature of these patterns and the combination of these patterns. It's called the periodic table. And this is the physics. This is the known repetitive physics of our reality. It's a geometric energy matrix, a matrix being something in between, some substrate in between. And we're in between. We're in between heaven and hell. We're in between the space and the earth, what we call space and earth. We're in the cosmic background radiation. We're in the cosmic soup. It's a matrix. And this matrix is, of course, an energy matrix. And of course, it's geometric because all energy is pattern in motion. And again, this is from the macro, from the largest black holes to the smallest micro black holes. to all of the waves in the universe, to all of the atoms that are all of the molecules, all of the atomic structures, all of the wave structures, all are patterns in motion. And these patterns, again, are the rhyme, the rhythm, the nature, the structure of the universe. This is a synopsis of what would be called vector field physics. And I think that it is pretty obvious to anybody that's really looking at these principles of the universe to see the intelligence. It's hard to hide the intelligence. There's a constant hiding of the intelligence of the universe. There's a constant academic pursuit to hide the intelligence of the universe. And if you're awake, you can see that. And if you're a student of these subjects, you can definitely see that that is the modus operandi, that is the chief operating principle of these sciences at this point. Science has discovered God many times over. Physics has discovered God many times over. God being the intelligent source, the intelligence and the source of all the power and information, all the energy and information in what we call the universe and what we now may call the multiverse. It's the same thing in some other order. And so whether we're talking multiverses, whether we're talking universes, whether we're talking omniverses, whatever verse we're talking, it's the word that's spoken, the intelligence, the energy, the information that was presented from a source that must exist in all of the many parameters that we see, all the many geometric energy structures that we see within this matrix, and it must exist through this structure somehow. Because God, we've always, in every religion, every principle, it seems to relate that there is an energy that is omnipresent, that even space and time are illusions, that there is an energy that is the omnipresent intelligence that's always been, and that is all things, and that is almighty, and that is Alpha, Omega, beginning and first and the last. Nothing can exist outside or beside, except for, there is no except for, really. It is all God in that way, in that nature, in that reality that science has discovered over and over and over and over again, from biology to quantum physics. Science was the pursuit to find God. Now it's the pursuit to hide God. Science began as the pursuit to find God. Now it is definitely the pursuit to hide God, to hide the physics and the nature of reality behind every excuse and every line of research, every line of fallacy that can be concocted. We see it with the changing of the dictionaries. We see it with the what is a woman. We see it with what is a baby. And these are just the politics of the physics that are not defined when they have been discovered. And they haven't been defined because there are those that are in power that make a concerted effort to not describe the physics that they witness, to not describe the physics that has boggled their mind, to make them understand that it is all God. From the DNA to the cell to the formation of the stars, from the formation of everything, there is too much intelligence. And when you look at anything so deeply that you're seeing into its molecules, you're seeing into its atoms, that you're seeing into its atomic structure, you're looking at things so deeply, like the DNA, things like that, that you see an intelligence and mechanisms and operations that are way beyond any random conception, any random formation, any chaotic nature. And that is God. And I don't know why it's not admitted through every science, every political arena, every physics, every chemistry, every geometry, every math, every history, every sociology, every psychology. It's been found over and over again. Psychology calls it the messianic complex. Psychology calls it hallucinations. We used to call them prophets. So we continually try to hide the nature of what is going on. And it's for commerce, it's for profit. It's keep the world going around. The carnival, it's a circus. But that doesn't mean there aren't those that understand how the circus really works, while there's others just wandering around the circus, not realizing they're even in a circus, with carnies everywhere that are only there to sell them something they don't need, and this makes the world go round. The world as we know it, and we only know it in a small perspective of what it really is. We're living in a digital manifestation, a light trick. We live in a construct. We live in a digital reality. It's digital, it's light. It's all light, energy. frequency, as some would say. Frequency is just a measurement of energy, an attempted measurement of energy. And they make a two-dimensional geometry that they can associate math with called the squiggle of frequency. But my point is that we live in energy. Everything's energy, of course, we all know that, but it's light and it's digital. We are in a digital manifestation. We are a digital manifestation. We are within a realm of phases of energy, patterns of energy that exist in contrasting manners that give us duality. And this duality is the stuff of reality, that up is up, down is down, and hot is hot, cold is cold, and these dueling natures of everything, left, right, east, west, masculine, feminine, these dueling natures everywhere, again, give us and persist reality, and it's all a light trick. We're in a hall of mirrors, we're in a hall of lights intersecting, and it causes the, as Einstein called it, the illusion, the persistent illusion of reality that is so encompassing because we are it, we're in it. We're not it in the sense of our souls. That is another phase of energy that's been, kind of synced into this mesh we call a body and reality. And that's where this place, this realm, doesn't feel like home all the time to a lot of us. And Jesus said it wasn't his kingdom. So something's going on here that's a little outside of our, normal. And it's the duality, it's the illusion, and it's like I said, a light trick. And like I said, we don't know it because we're in it, we are it, but we can see through science, what we call science and physics, that we're in an illusion, that we're in some type of computer, an energy computer, a processing digital reality, a digital light, and of course we have sound, and of course we have matter, but these are all aspects of different phases of light, different structures of light, and it all interplays. And this interplay is crystallographic by its nature. It is crystallographic and allowed to, say, evolve, to morph, as this energy, this pure energy, is coming from the ethers through black holes that are essentially everywhere, in every atom and behind every wave. This dark matter, this black hole matrix that we're in, that is manifesting all light, and that is manifesting and propagating all of reality. Each step, every minute, every second, every millisecond, down to a frequency of trillions of hertz. That the illusion is manifest on a frequency. And this gets all complex, and I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible. But the fact that we're living in a digital reality that is light, that is for our discovery, for our illusion, but yet our discovery. It's meant to discover. We're meant to discover the nature of ourselves. We're meant to discover the nature of our reality as God. And we're seeing it, and like I said, science wants to, our scientists, many of the biggest scientists and physicists, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, the list goes on, Stephen Hawking, many of the most well-known physicists and scientists are well-known because their job is to hide this. Their reality is to hide that we live in a geometric patterned informational system that is a digital pattern that is so complex and so intricate and so coherent that there is no chance. It's only an illusion, a complete illusion, that one could think that it's random or that some process of chaos or some process outside of the utmost intelligent designer that has everything, say, in his hand, in his mind, in his conception, in his architecture, in his plans, in his culmination. And so we live in this geometric energy matrix, and we're unaware of it. We're largely unaware, and most people are totally unaware that they're in a geometric energy matrix. And this geometry is interplaying with us all of the time. It is the nature of nature, this communication scheme that is the information morphing, the information evolving, as we call matter evolving, decaying, recycling, these type of things, as we call life doing the same. As we say that, suns have these patterns of life, have their lifespans and things like that. Everything in nature, these patterns intersecting, are causing things to burn up, break apart, morph, recycle constantly. constantly compress into other things, burn into other things. You know, coal turns into diamonds and graphite and graphene and all these things, you know, by different compressions, different heat and different, you know, and crystals grow in these various conditions, and different crystals grow in other conditions and things like that. And this is what's going on all over the universe. It's this evolving, morphing system of information. Patterns, energy is always information. Energy is always patterns. Patterns carry the information. Patterns are the information. And so that's what's really going on, is a geometric dance of energy. Again, so highly orchestrated that one is foolish. One is the utmost fool to believe that there is not some orchestrator behind the orchestra, behind what we see, behind the music we hear, that this wasn't designed. Now, my purpose in this conversation isn't to get into intelligent design versus chaotic random stuff. You know, there's no such thing as chaotic random stuff. There really isn't. It's called chaos theory for a reason. It's only a theory, and it's bad theory. Like I said, I can have theories that my car created the universe and come up with some math accordingly, you know, and that doesn't make it, you know, any sort of reality. The same as chaos theory. You can associate some numbers to it. And the same as any physics that tries to describe the nature of the universe. It fails. That doesn't mean it's chaos. It just means that science doesn't have the math present to put a number on God. And they know they can't put a number on God. You can't put a number on what God is or inherently, or what God is doing inherently. If you could, you'd be able to predict all reality. If you could, you'd be able to say the nature of everything as it is, from the formation to the culmination. If you could put a number on these type of things, if there was a true unified field theory. And that's why they call them unified field theories, because they don't work. The math doesn't work. Almost, very close, to the point where we can say that this is probably how it is, but we're just not complete in our understanding, because the math does work out very far on many of these so-called unified field theories, as they relate to, and they continue to relate to, the intelligence of the universe, as they continue to relate that there is a vast network of intelligence that has composed the universe, and that is the true power of the universe, and that everything else is a geometric, intelligent emanation of that source. These unified field theories continue to present that notion in some form or some term or another. Albert Einstein himself said that the field is the sole governing agent of the particle. And he didn't mean the electromagnetic field, because the electromagnetic field isn't the sole governing agent of the particle. It might do little to nothing to affect the particle, you know, but he meant the overall grand unifying field that, like I said, some call dark matter, some call the quantum field, some call source, some call God, some call the other side, ethers, you know, all these different names. All these different scientists have tried to describe this, and then they give it a different name because it maybe fits their conception a little better. But it's still just a conception, it's still just a theory, and you can't put a number on it. And they can keep trying, and they can keep telling you that it's random because they can't put a number on it, and that it's chaos theory, or that it's, you know, something else, because they can't put a real number on it. They can't figure it out as quarks or bosons and leptons and gluons and, you know, all these other things that they keep adding to the science or to the theory, because, or into the math, because they can't get the math quite right. It doesn't work. So what's clear, once again, is that we're living in a geometric energy matrix. It's a digital manifestation. And it's a digital manifestation for the evolution of energy. It's a digital manifestation for the evolution of consciousness. Because all of this energy seems to amount to consciousness, both from the source and from what it's culminating. However you want to say it, 6,000 years of creation, or 14.5 billion years of formation, of evolution. However you want to describe it, what has began from consciousness has now formed consciousness that can observe the consciousness that created it. And that is the culmination, scientifically, through physics and through what we know as prophecy. It's the culmination of man, it's the culmination of consciousness, it's the culmination of God consciousness, back to all that is God. Quite a circle. This culmination is perfection. This culmination is the nature of God. This culmination to be aware of the working aspects, the mechanisms of God. It's what's been predicted. It's said in Revelations in the Bible that the secrets of God will be made known in the end of days. And I say, if we're not there, when? Everything points that we're in these end of days. And we are rapidly figuring out these so-called secrets of God. And we can attach to that reality, or we can continue to live in illusion. And the next destiny is the Christ-conscious golden age. And it seems to be right on point with the notion and the nature and the reality that it is all God. Every atom, every wave, everything, every structure, every mechanism, everything. It's all God. And that's what physics is aligning us to understand. That's what physics is aligning our consciousness. That's where our consciousness has grown to, where our tests and our retests and our hypothesis and our tests and this back and forth called science has now opened doors to show us that we're in this geometric energy matrix, and that time is an illusion, space is an illusion, and that consciousness and the culmination of consciousness is what the illusion has been for and also in resistance of. So there we have the nature of sin, the nature of going against God, or the nature of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We have this nature where we seem to not want to know God. We seem to not want to know all there is. We seem to be content with living our ego, say, that living our flesh, living the world, living the standards of the world, instead of the standard of God, or instead of the reality of God. And it's the only reality. So it's like, really, we're hiding from ourselves. We're hiding from everything. We're Adam and Eve in the garden, hiding, ashamed of ourselves. To look at what physics is showing and what biology and chemistry and all these things are showing, this intelligence behind everything, that this intelligence has inscribed itself everywhere from the DNA into matter, into the cosmos, in these intelligent signatures, in these patterns, in these crystallographic pattern signatures all over the place, at infinitum, recognizing what we're seeing as God, as the intelligent matrix of the universe, the matrix, the intelligence behind the matrix, the intelligence that is the matrix, the intelligence that designed and completes and evolves and manifests the matrix. They say dark matter is 84 to 96% of the known universe. And it's just a power that we can't test for, see, touch. We observe that it works and it moves stars around. We observe that it seems to account for forces that are the working forces and the manifestation forces of the universe. Now, whether or not you believe in dark matter or not, whether or not you believe in that theoretical physics, or what seems to be more and more an actual line of physics, but whether or not you believe in that, or you believe in an electric universe or a plasma universe, there's many different theories on what the power sources are and the intelligence is, and how exactly much that is versus how much the electromagnetism is, how much the known universe, the observable universe, what part of the reality is the observable universe versus what part of the reality is the behind the stage, behind the scenes mechanisms. And what's clear is that these behind the scenes mechanisms are the true power and the true intelligence of what we know as the known universe, the observable universe. So these patterns at infinitum, patterns in motion, patterns at infinitum, evolving patterns on top of patterns, interacting, relating, communicating, patterns, pattern information, interacting with other patterns, communicating, informing, evolving, recycling, patterns from stars to crystals, to gems, to minerals, to dirt, to life, crystallographic, liquid crystallographic, solid state crystal life, and then back to another recycling process into dirt and back to life again. And this is what we see, what we observe, all the energy of the sun, the mechanisms of the energies of the earth, all to support life, which is consciousness, all to manifest, to evolve, to communicate the factors known in what we call life. This intelligence of life is communicated through water, which is liquid crystal. So we have this crystallographic interplay between the crystallographic energy patterns called the stars to the crystallographic G.E.M Earth and everything in between. And then you have life that is also crystallographic in this liquid earth way. Minerals from earth, gems from earth, combined with liquid crystal earth, manifest into something that can be and contain and communicate consciousness. Again, the nature of the whole universe has been to do this. Biblically, it would be stated that the nature of the universe was for Adam and Adam's family and the children of God, that everything was created for this entity. So we live in a geometric energy matrix that is a digital, holographic, digital illusion for the evolution of what we know as life, what we know as consciousness. And if it's all God, as it all is, as it is all a manifestation of the will of God, as the word spoken, and as there is no space and time, this word is spoken all at once and compressed in this way that it's hard to wrap your head around. If there's no space and time, and this word was spoken into what? Space and time. There's no space and time. It took time to speak it. No, there was no space and time. So it's compressed in this reality that we, that we're synced into dimensionally. And my point there is that it is geometric from source. And the source is here now, and the source is all there is. There's no space and time between this word. There's nothing that can exist outside of the Father, outside of God, outside of the all. That's why it's the all. Because it's all things possible, all things manifest, and then some. And that's what we see in this universe. We see the potentials of all. We see the crystallographic and the morphing of all as crystals become less than crystals and turn back into crystals. Through life, through trees, through plants that are crystallographic, through cells that are crystallographic, patterns in motion that have the power to communicate. Everything's communicating. Of course, life's communicating on a broader scale. So these scales of crystallography have built life, have built crystallographic life that has the power to process and communicate in a dynamic way that is distinct to the Creator himself, and that's where we're made in the image of God. Jesus himself said, "Are ye not as God? Are ye not as gods? What else can you be?" Jesus got it. I say Jesus was the greatest quantum physicist to ever exist. And he did it before there was a term called quantum physicist. That's why they call it quantum theory. What we're doing is formulating philosophies that we can back with physics, that we can back with numbers. It's all philosophical. It's all theosophical at its roots. Dealing with what religions have said about the nature of reality, and then trying to ascribe or to, like I said, in more modern times, to separate the nature that has been described in religion from the world, that they try to persist to the world, that modern scientists, modern physicists are trying to persist to the world because they have nothing else to do. I say if they recognize the nature of what they really are understanding, what they really have discovered, then they are going to have to switch professions, and they'll have to become a religious pastor, a theosophist. I don't even know what religion they would enter into, because most of the religions aren't prepared for the information that they know. That it's all God, that everything, well, the religions say it. Alpha, Omega, beginning, end, first and the last, nothing can exist outside of the Father. So that's said, it's related, but somehow people believe that something else is in control of this world. But we can see through physics, through quantum physics, which is really, again, quantum theory, because even the word quantum basically means too big or too small, too fast or too slow to measure. So it's beyond measurement. So all quantum physics is basically quantum theory that is philosophy and theosophy that cannot be measured. Quantum physics is a graveyard. Either people are going to understand the truth, or they're going to recycle themselves into graves, early graves, asking the same question when they keep getting the answer. What is God? What is it? What is God? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? And they see God. They see God. They see the intelligence of the nature of the universe. They see the intelligence and the nature of the universe continually. And all it is intelligence, more pattern on top of pattern. more intelligence, more things that should not exist. DNA shouldn't exist. Cellular structure shouldn't exist. Little machines inside your cell called organelles shouldn't exist in the sense of how much evolution, it's impossible. I mean, you can say it's possible, I guess, and that's where chaos theory there, if this universe was repeated a billion, trillion times, it's tried so many different things that, yeah, after 14 billions, it gets life right or whatever, So if we recognize what we are as G.E.M pattern, as a geometric energy matrix of pattern in motion, patterns of energy in motion, that's all we can be. That's all we ever were. That's all we ever are. Geometric energy matrices. Our body is a geometric energy matrix, and it's pattern in motion. And that pattern is based on water, and these patterns of energy around us are continually affecting our patterns of water and our patterns of DNA that are based in our water, and that our patterns of bones, which are minerals, are crystals, and our hair are little crystals, and our nails are little crystals. Crystallographic patterns that are formed by the information of our DNA, and our DNA being water, and our skin and our cells and our organs all water. And these are all crystallographic patterns, liquid crystal and solid state crystal patterns. We are G.E.M. We are a geometric energy matrix. Our Earth is a geometric energy matrix. It's G.E.M. Even the pure metals that our Earth produces are crystallographic metals. Our Earth can make many things that aren't crystallographic as well, but the nature of its original structure is a big G.E.M. Different minerals, metals, and actual gemological structures all compressed together, electrically activated, electrically flowing, and we have life. And again, all of this is crystallographic pattern in motion. Patterns on top of patterns intersecting. And when we realize the nature of this physics, then we recognize the nature of consciousness itself. We realize the nature of self, that we are supposed to be geometric energy patterns in motion. Well, what is going on when we have food that is not crystallographic? What is going on when we have pollutions in ourselves that aren't crystallographic? This is the war on the inside. And these are the lies that we live with, that we live these contaminations that are outside of our geometric energy pattern, that are outside of our gemological natural structure, from the patterns that our brain is supposed to work with, from these synapses that should be firing in geometric formations and aren't sometimes, that our heart rhythm should be emitting these geometric static energy fields, static electric energy fields, but sometimes they're not. And oftentimes people are stuck in these states where they're not emitting crystallographic brainwave patterns and not emitting crystallographic waves off their heart. The fields of energy being patterns, and these patterns relating to the emitter. And these patterns are emitting on everybody. And these patterns of our cell phone signals, and even from the sun, that are tearing apart cells, tearing apart living cells, because they're not geometric energy patterns. They are waves that are incoherent. Geometry is coherent. Geometric energy patterns, GEMs, are coherent. Geometric energy is coherent energy. Patterns of like a school of fish, waves that are, and they're in patterns that get into the cell and enliven cells, benefit cells. And these are patterns from our Earth, different electromagnetic fields that the planet and the cosmos produce. And we're bathing in these negative entropic or positive energy fields, positive being life-bringing, negative being life-decaying, life-destructing, entropic being death, being lower states of matter. And we have the nature of man becoming conscious of these things, of these philosophies, these principles, these theosophies, these physics, these quantum physics, becoming quite distinctly aware of the all, of the messages of the all, of the realm of the all, the dimensions of the all, the physics, the parameters of the all. And we have, again, taken a step back from who we are, and biblically that would be called the tree of knowledge, and we have entered into a realm of consciousness that does not know who we are, does not know where we're from, does not know our soul, does not know our past lives, does not know our God, does not know each other, does not trust each other, does not trust this realm, does not trust nature, does not trust the cosmos, doesn't trust asteroids that won't fall in on us, that the sky is not falling. People wake up with all types of illusions and delusions and paranoias every day that can be very extreme. And that's the extreme side, but everyone exists in this not knowingness. I've told my kids that the adults you see are just as not knowing as they are. That just because somebody's an adult or just because somebody's old, don't assume that they know what's going on here, because they don't. Maybe as a matter of faith they do, and some get it right as a matter of faith. But as a matter of faith, as Jesus said, most people are dying from the lack of knowledge. So we have this tree of knowledge, we have this tree of faith, we have this tree of life. And without knowledge, faith can be misplaced in this world. So this interplay that has led the faithful scientists to discover God, because it is an act of faith. We are in a quantum realm that God is not going to be pinpointed. God is not going to have a number put upon it. Him, her, it, all. All cannot be quantified. All is ever expanding. All is infinite. So it's a game. It's a game these scientists play for money at the carnival show to sell you more crap and sell you on random philosophy or random theosophy, that things can be random, that you could be hurt, that you could be disordered, diseased, killed, traumatized, anything outside of what is the physics of reality, outside of what is the parameters of the universe, outside of what is the physics of what we would call your karma. Patterns on top of patterns on top of patterns, intelligently being manifest for and through the will of the people, the will of the consciousness, the observer, in a co-creation with our Father. It's all there is. And people are literally in fear of it, in fear of their realm, in fear of this world. Because why? They don't know what it is. It's born into a jungle. There's a jungle out there. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And if you were to realize who's really in control of every cell, every atom of that lion, tiger, or bear, and you begin to understand that that lion and tiger or bear will not touch you if it's not your karma. That car wreck can't hurt you. That car wreck wouldn't exist if it wasn't your karma. Whatever it is, whatever trauma, event, whatever loss, so-called loss, there's no such thing as a loss. It's the nature of the universe. Things so-called come and they so-called go, but it's just all. So the way that we think about things, the way that we think about each other, all changes, and we begin to have a crystallographic mind, a crystallographic thought process, a crystallographic synapse pattern, a G.E.M heart, a heart of gold, a mind of steel, a mind of gold. When we take the glitches out of where we're at, what this is, who you are, and stop living the BS, stop living the lie, stop living the dementia, stop living the illusion. Because it is a persistent illusion, as Einstein said, but it's only an illusion. And it's an illusion for the evolution of your consciousness. And it's a geometric energy matrix. So the way we relate to it is through geometry, through pattern information. I didn't take geometry in high school even. It's not that I'm speaking of some subject called geometry in a sense of a curriculum. I'm speaking of it as patterns, as the understanding of the nature of universe as pattern. Even the subject trigonometry is understanding the nature of universe as triangulated triangles, that everything is triangles. Everything can be measured and understood through triangles. And it's like, well, that's the Trinity. And, some people say the Trinity doesn't exist, but we have these natures of triangulation all throughout every measurement. Further, we have these natures of sacred geometrical patterns, what we would call sacred geometry, throughout everything that's known in existence. And the only time that changes is that when the co-creator man creates something. Otherwise, everything that's natural has the Fibonacci ratio in it, has sacred geometrical patterns in it. It's one of the many signatures of God, maybe the most direct signature. In that perfection, in that alignment, in that coherence, in that natural inherent Fibonacci coherence, and that skew called sin or tree of knowledge that man can put on things as the co-creator, that is immaculate. That is harmony at its best. And some see it as chaos, but we have to see it as perfection. This is the plan of God. This is the mind of God that we witness every day. and we are scared of it because something so-called bad happened, well, something good happened too. And it's just our perspective that tells us what to think is good, what to think is bad, and which one to focus on, which one to consider more than the other. And this is the tree of knowledge, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, judging the reality as less than perfect, as less than the nature of what it really is, of less than the God realm that it truly is, as less than the God dream, the mind of God that it truly, truly is, that it has to be, that it can't be anything else. And we delude and elude ourselves and each other through all the trinkets and shiny things, all the metal and all the stuff that earth poops and all the earth manifests, all this junk, all this stuff of the world, as Jesus called it. Jesus spoke more of the world corrupting people than he did of demons and sin and the devil. Things of the world, ways of the world are the true corruption. The things we do for things, the things we do for money, the things we do for love, all in illusion of what we really are, who we really are, what we're really doing here, what it really is, and what it really is for. And again, this is the mind of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, judging what we think it's about instead of understanding and overstanding the true nature of God as all and as geometric energy matrix that is all that God has ever presented or ever shown us that he represents, it is. Again, through all things manifest, we see the geometric energy matrix. We see the foundation of God's signature sacred geometry everywhere. And of course, it's written in ourselves in the most profound ways, from the DNA to the cells to the being, from the micro to the macro within us. And this is the knowledge and the sight of perfection. This is the sight and the knowledge of the faith. This is the sight and the knowledge of the tree of life, beyond the judgment of good and evil, to understand that everything is perfect. It must be. Not perfect to my judgment or my preference, perfect for the nature of reality that God has set forth, which is the evolution of consciousness. Henceforth, the perfection is of the perfection of the evolution of consciousness. The perfection of God is perfect because it is for the evolution of your consciousness. That's all it is. And your judgment of what is good and bad in your life or in your perspective, Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." There's no good done without Christ, and through Christ all things can be made good. These are principles of good and evil that show us that we don't know what we're doing, that we are in a realm that we can't tell good from evil. We think we can. There's some obvious things that seem obvious, but I say even Hitler, Hitler changed the world. And who's to tell what parts are now existent that are good and what parts are evil? What he did, most people would agree that it's evil. But when things can be woven for good, then, so it's interesting, but not for me to judge, because God is the judge, the Father's the judge, right? So it's inherently not for this flesh to judge. Maybe I can sit at the right hand of the Father one day but that it's not in this flesh to judge. And it's not in your flesh to judge good from evil. It's in your flesh to judge Christ-allographic from demented. The nature of the universe, the nature of God being Christ-allographic, and the demented being what the co-creator man, the sons of God, have done to forget the Father. Because as the Father is all, then we are all. Are ye not as gods? Then we must have forgot ourselves. This universe is basically a story of God forgetting God. It's a book I think I'm going to write one day, but, God forgot God. He had to, in order to experience anything. And that's all there is here is experience. And I say there's nothing guaranteed in this reality. They say death and taxes. Well, there's people that haven't died and there's people that don't pay their taxes. So there's nothing guaranteed. There's not even guaranteed a person will be born. So there's nothing guaranteed. And the only thing that is guaranteed is even that unborn baby has an experience. Everyone has an experience. They don't have a certain religion. They don't have a certain upbringing. They don't have a certain food. Nobody eats the same thing. Nobody does the same thing in their life. What it is a unique experience for everybody. And that's the evolution of consciousness. And that is the evolution of the consciousness of God, because that's all there is. So as this consciousness evolves, it evolves to have preference. And it evolves to have sight of what is geometric and what is demented. Demented simply coming from the meaning of things not aligning, things not being coherent, things not being functional, things not being eternal. Diamonds are forever, gems are forever. So we have to create systems that are not flawed, because flawed things come apart. Flawed things decay, flawed things fray, flawed things break. And until we understand the nature of the eternal as crystallographic, as geometric, as sacred geometrical, as Fibonacci ratioed in the mind, body, spirit, matter complex of this universe, until we learn to work with the nature of nature and be the nature of nature, to be the God that we are, to have the conscientiousness, to have the awareness of really who we are, where we're at, what we're doing, what our potentials are, what our evolution should be, based on crystallography, based on eternal patterns, based on sacred geometrical relation to the energy fields that we are and that we are surrounded by, and that all is encompassed through and by, and what all is, and cease to confuse each other with demented, imaginary, illusionary constructs, both in our communication and in our education systems, then, and the earth has given us the tools of the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. The tree of life, as I presented, is a crystal. The tree of life is an Archvogel crystal, what we would term today as an Archvogel crystal. As Edgar Cayce would say, the great prophet Edgar Cayce called it a firestone, called it the great crystal of Atlantis. This is the tree of life of Eden. This is the greatest geometric energy matrix on earth outside of the earth itself. Earth is the greatest geometric energy matrix that we know of to support life, to support consciousness, to evolve life, to evolve consciousness. The greatest one known in the whole universe. And this is the greatest one on earth. It's made of earth, and it has earth's finest geometric energies within it. It is earth's finest geometric energy, both the quartz and then within it as the gems and metals that are involved. That is the tool of the tree of life. It is a micro earth. It is a microprocessor of the macro processor that is earth, and the ultimate processor that is the cosmos, that is the universe, that is processing earth, that is processing us. And in between we have this communication device that can amplify the earth and amplify our systems and amplify our cosmos and amplify all of the positive frequencies, all of the positive patterns, all of the positive geometric energy matrix patterns of energies that compose us, that compose our nature, our reality, all of nature, all of reality, without the skews of sin that man has involved in this reality. No skew of sin here, no sin here. All geometric energy matrix, all pure gem, all pure crystallography. And as God gave his 12 chosen children, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 different gems, he was giving them the physics and the frequencies of constructed reality that they're constructed by, that their earth is constructed by, that their cosmos is constructed by. These 12 crystallographic patterns known as crystallography, he gives them the parameters and the physics of the known universe. He gives them the holographic matrix structures that the entire hologram, the parameters that the hologram, the whole digital universe is built on. And with that, he's giving them promises such as, you won't go floating off. There'll be this such thing we call gravity one day, and you won't go floating off through into outer space. You won't sink through your floor and become one with your floor and get stuck in it. God gave his children the greatest promise that could ever be given by a creator to his children, which was to say, I will keep your physics, I will keep the physics of reality for all time, for you. And with those 12 gems, it was a promise to keep forever. So we have these physics forever. We have these geometric energy matrix, these gem physics forever. So as long as it's always been, as long as it's ever been, and as long as likely it will ever be, the universe is ruled by gem. The earth is ruled by gem. Mankind is ruled by gem because it is gem. It's the nature of nature. It's the nature of self. We are morphable gem. Water is morphable liquid crystal. It can morph to being liquid crystal, or it can morph to be something demented. The nature of consciousness, the nature of God. God is perfect, right? Well, God is all things also. So God is a God of this, and God is a God of that. And we are in between as this and that. And that's where we are holy and have the potential to be more holy, and we are also vile and have the potential to be more vile, demented, illusion, delusion, sinful, and even evil, and even devil, even demon, existing all within the hearts and minds of men and the actions of men as a co-creator of the Most High. So when we understand who we are, what this is, what the physics are, what the gem physics, what the 12 gem physics are, what the crystallographic matrix is, what the geometric energy matrix really is doing, it's evolving gems. It's putting energetic pressures, energetic torsions, energetic spin, energetic combinations, force fields and forces, and ripping things apart and putting things together, all in these patterned ways. Not a random, chaotic way, a pattern, these patterned ways all over the universe. Stars exploding, stars combining, stars going into black holes and creating exotic matter. You know, we have so many patterns at infinitum going on in the universe, and they're all recycling. Cycling and recycling, call it evolving, up and down the periodic table, you know, changing shape and form and atomic structures, and we're getting everything we know as reality, and it's all a process of gemological frequencies, geometric matrix energies. Now, again, we're in between, and our consciousness is based on our water, as the book The Water Codes, as I've discovered and put in writing and related in writing, and this nature is profoundly linked to the cosmos, and it's within us. We are the cosmos, we are the earth, if we're in our greatest crystallographic form. And we have the information from the cosmos, we have the information from the earth, all of it, at our fingertips when we are in our genuine crystallographic form. When we have our liquid crystal display in full function, we are in communication with the Most High and our Mother Earth. Father Sky, Mother Earth realm, the understandings of the ancients, that we are this Mother Earth, that we are all brother, somehow, some way that we are all brothers, that we all are this spirit of the earth, and that we all are connected through our Father, the cosmos. This profound nature is found right here in ourselves, that we are this culmination of all things manifest and all things possible. Even our DNA is a combination of everything that has essentially been alive in this world. We have some link to everything. Heaven, hell, angels, demons, God, devil, because it's all here, it's all within us. Because it's God. And again, if we relate ourselves within this geometric energy matrix as principles of this geometric energy matrix, and we understand the tree of knowledge that has caused us to forget ourselves, that is an inherent part of being able to have an experience. And this experience, we've experienced it, and it's time to come back to self. And that's written, that's prophecy, we feel it, that's what's going on. We're coming back to the nature of self, we're coming back to the nature of God, through physics, through science, through trial, through error, through victimhood, through victimization, through pain, through suffering, through enlightenment, in various ways. God is at the top and at the bottom of the rabbit hole. God is at the best times and the worst times. God is in the paradise and in the prisons. So we've done these things, we've been these places, we've been to these highs and lows, we've done it. And we've discovered God again, we've discovered ourselves again. And it's just time to implement those resources, those natures, those understandings, those physics into our realities, our lives. And that is the new day. That is the return of Christ. That is the return of the nature of nature, the call of the wild, the one in all, the I and I, the all in all. And there are tools. The tree of life has returned. It is the all in all, the all gem in the one, And it exists to culminate you into being the I in you, the you are you, the one that is you, the all in you, to bring your soul to be present into this world, to culminate your highest self through the flesh, to raise the Christ out of your decaying flesh. And like I said, tools, and the tools are of the physics of the Most High, the physics of this reality, the physics of our earth, the transmission received by our cosmos. Every day as the energy fields here that this is condensing, every day that the energy fields are interacting with the gems here on this planet, and you can hold one and put it in your pocket and even lay under a light system, that you will be informed. You will be informed with the information, the blueprints, the structural blueprints of the Most High. And that is you. So you're just informing you. You are remembering. Osiris remembering, being remembered, being risen after being remembered. To remember self, because you are the information of your earth and your cosmos, informed as water. And this is the informative tool. This is the information tool. It's the blueprints. This is the architecture. This is the structure of the matrix itself, the finest and purest parts of the matrix itself. And that's what we are, but yet we get demented, vile, delusioned through our world of sin. And there is a way to re-inform. There is a way. It hasn't existed for a long time, but it is back. There is a way, and it is what it is. And with that, I wish you peace and nothing but your own glory in what you are here to do.